Welcome to the Pewtercast, coming to you live on location from the Wing House right here in Tampa Bay, just south of Raymond James Stadium. I am Brent Allen, your host. I am joined, as always, by my good friend Ren Daxt. Ren, we just got out of a fan event over there at the Advent Training Health Center Command
Center,
whatever.
Yeah.
And it was kind of they had a bunch of stuff going on, but we're going to talk about all that stuff that we got to do tonight. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a fun little event.
Well, you, me, and 3,000 of our closest friends got a private sit down.
Right.
With
one-on-one.
One-on-one. Sit down.
1 on 3,000.
With
maybe not. It wasn't 3,000.
Whatever.
It was probably 1,000 though.
Okay.
That might be right. About 1,000.
Sure. Okay, it's 1,000. So 1,000 closest friends with Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator, Goodwin, the
run coordinator,
assistant head coach and run coordinator. But he did say right away that offensive line is his gig,
right? Because is he also the offensive line coach?
That's what but it's not in his title.
Right.
But that was the first thing out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So, and then Byron Leftwich, the play caller, we'll see.
Offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator.
Right. And Bruce talked about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Right.
And then special teams coach, I have no idea who his name is.
Oh, shoot, I had it. Steve something.
Steve.
I don't know. You talk for a second. I'll look it up.
All right. Well, it was just like most of the Buccaneers sort of fan things that are there. It was a little bit outside, a little inside. They did have some food trucks there for us.
Mm-hmm.
Free food. You were allowed to write down a question, and maybe or maybe not it would get asked to the panel. When you first got there, they had, you're running routes against Captain Fear for the kids, or I saw some kids running around with parachutes on them.
Oh, well, look at this. Look who's walking
up. Oh, my
up,
God. Hello. Have a seat, please. There's a special guest. We're recording now.
What's up?
Sorry, you guys are recording.
No, have a seat.
We have Cece who just swung by. We're right here at the Wing House.
Please, have a seat.
And right up behind Cece comes our good friend Michael Pless.
Say hello to the good folks, Mike.
Oh, what's up, guys?
Oh, we are recording
live
right
now.
So, Pless, what about it, buddy? Talk to us some off-season stuff. You guys have been tearing it up. You and Mark over there at the Real Bucs Talk.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I like the Donovan Smith move. I think that was.
Yeah.
I think that was necessary. I mean, based on the market and what's out there in the draft.
Yeah.
So it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I keep hearing from what I'm going to call the level-headed people.
Yeah.
That
people with logic.
The Bucs had no other choice.
Right.
It was the right move because that's just what they had to do.
Yeah, and they saved money on it,
Sure.
So
it's not a long-term deal.
Right.
Despite what people say, it's really not a long-term deal.
Yeah.
I called it. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Whether you're a supporter or a hater, it's the best compromise between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that just hate him. They're pissed off that he's going to make money.
Right.
They don't mind spending the money. They're okay that the money gets spent. They're okay that it has that kind of a cap hit.
Right.
They just don't want it spent on him because they don't like him, which is ludicrous to my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a better player than, most people give him credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty consistent. I mean, he'll have one or two series where he gets beat, and it's like, okay. And I think that's where most fans look at it, and they're like, they just overreact to that series or that, those couple of plays. But for the most part, he's pretty good. So, I mean.
Yeah. So, you just came back from Key West.
I did, yeah.
Did you have time to watch the Combine?
I watched a little bit of it. I didn't over-examine it.
Right.
Again, the Combine, and that's the thing, the Combine was crazy because you had all these rumors and stuff that went down. Like Kyler Murray is apparently number one now. The hype over Devin White is ridiculous to me. Same thing with DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
If those guys go in the top 5, I'd be ecstatic as a Bucs fan because that means either Quinnen Williams or a Josh Allen or you have Ed Oliver there. So any of those guys I would love to take. I think that would be an obvious choice. Even Jonah Williams, I really like him. So the combine, I think people just look at the 40-yard dash and they just get so enamored with it. But really, you got to look at the tape and, make sure it's validation. Like, if he runs this fast, okay, it's the same on the tape, So
yeah, the combine, which most level-headed people seem to think is the combine is there for the workout to match the tape,
right?
And then when there's an anomaly happens, that's when you have to go back with the new information that you have and rewatch the tape,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't go, oh, you tested well in the 3-cone. Well, that's a top 10,
right?
You tested a 99th percentile in the 3-cone forever.
Yeah,
obviously that makes you got to go number 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. But we're getting to free agency. You guys over there, you and Mark are you guys really like to dig into players.
Yeah.
Find guys.
Right.
We haven't done anything on free agency yet. It's coming up. So why don't you give us a little preview of what you guys will be talking about?
Yeah.
Some guys out there that you like. Don't worry about salary cap. Don't worry about, we'll figure that out. But some guys that maybe you'd like to see that makes sense.
Right.
In a Buccaneers
actually,
uniform.
it's been very quiet. It's been a very quiet free agency. This is probably going to be like one of the most boring free agencies, I think. As far as Buccaneers history goes, I don't think we're going to go after the big names. I don't think you're going to see a lot of spending. It's going to be more value. I think the tier 2, tier 3 guys is where we're going to be looking.
So we're going to get on fan social media, we're going to get a lot of memes of people poking sticks at something dead on the ground saying, do something.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. I don't think you're going to see a lot of moves early. Obviously the Quan Alexander and the Adam Humphries news, that's going to break. If we do anything early, I think it'll be via trade. Yeah. If it's a Gerald McCoy or if it's a Deshaun Jackson, things like that. But as far as guys that I'm looking at, I look at like A.J. Cann from Jacksonville, a guard that, still pretty young, not going to get too much money. So that could be a guy. John Miller from Buffalo is another guy that could be a viable right guard. And then you look at like the defensive backs, but it's not very strong either. The safety group is outstanding. The safety group's great. But when you look at the corners, maybe a Mose Claiborne, but it's like how much are they going to get paid? You don't want to overpay for those guys. So...
would you guys say, well, I'll just open-ended to you.
Yeah.
What would you say are the top, now that Donovan Smith has been signed, what are the top 2 specific position needs for the Buccaneers throughout the rest of this offseason?
Well, obviously you got to shore up the right side of the offensive line. Right guard, right tackle, I think it needs to be addressed. And that matches up well in the draft. There's guys that can play right tackle. There's a couple good guards. So, that secondary, I think veteran corner is going to be a need. I think that's where they'll address it, whether it be via trade or free agency. I don't see us going corner early in the draft unless we do some type of trade back, get more capital.
Do you think it's completely ludicrous that the Bucs released DeMar Dotson with the plan of Caleb Beninock, the bane of most Bucs fans, kicking out to that right tackle spot?
I hope not. I hope they don't make that same mistake of like they did last year with J.R. Sweezy. I think they should have kept him on at least through training camp, and see what he had. But, I think DeMar's on the team as of now. I don't think he's very bad. He's a still very good right tackle. The problem is you worry about his age and injuries, so it's like when is he going to decline? When is he going to go
When's he going to break down?
Yeah, exactly.
Like this was the first year. I think he missed 1 game this year.
Right.
But the year before that he missed 3. The year before that he missed 3. The year before that he missed like 6.
Yeah.
So DeMar Dotson missing games in the middle of the season is the trend, not the outlier.
Right. Yeah. So it's just how long is he going to last, and can he do one more good season before his contract's up? So. We'll see. I think, obviously, offensive line, defensive line, I think we still need to add to. You'd like to get some more edge rushers. Problem is you can't do that really in free agency because they're going to get overpaid. I would love to get a Preston Smith. I think that guy's a perfect fit for this scheme, but he's probably going to get like $11, $12 million.
Who's Preston Smith?
Who's Preston Smith? He plays for Washington Redskins. He's one of their defensive ends / outside linebackers, kind of that hybrid guy that could, stand up if necessary and rush out, off the edge there. And can also play inside, too. I mean, he's a big guy, so 6'6", about 315. So he's one of those perfect fits that, can stop the run and also get after the passer. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
no, thanks for coming over and saying hi.
I just wanted to say hello. I know you guys have a bunch to talk about, so.
Yeah, no, man, it's always good to see a friendly face, man.
Yeah, man.
You never know who you're going to bump into. So,
Michael Pless, ladies and gentlemen, Real Bucs Talk.
Everybody, give it up for Michael Pless. All right. You could, they're applauding into the ethers podcast sphere right now.
Settle down, everybody. Settle down, everybody.
We got to talk about stuff. Bye, Michael. All right, Ren, let's try this one again.
Sure.
We were right in the middle of our...
Should we scan the crowd, make sure we don't know somebody else?
No, that's all right. They'll come find us. And you never know when somebody's going to come through the door. However, we're talking about an event. They titled it the Coach's Crew. I think that's what they called it, Coach's Crew. It was a fan event.
Right.
We were talking about that. We had a couple people come and stop at the table and talk to us and say hi. Our good friend Michael Pless. But now let's get back to what we were talking about. This event... They put it out to a certain group of season ticket holders, which we got to be a part of. And you had mentioned kind of like a lot of other events. It was part come play and have fun.
Right.
And they had some things set up.
Yeah.
And then it was the big draw was the coaching staff is going to be there.
Right.
And we got to do a Q&A with them.
We got to listen.
We got to listen to a Q&A.
To Casey asking questions.
And we got to write a whole bunch of questions down, and she picked 3.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll get to all of that.
And they were all basic.
They really were.
One of them was, "Where's your red hat?" Out of the 3,
that was the closer.
That was the closer.
That was the closer.
Hey, Coach, where's your red hat? Thank you for wasting my time as I wrote 4 questions out in the cold earlier today.
Right. Okay.
Just kidding. I only wrote 1.
You wrote 1. What did your question say to Coach?
Well, this is my real question, which I like. It's long and a little bit drawn out, but I knew that I had pretty much 0 chance of asking it. And I would go, you've just done player evals. Obviously, you've done this before when you got the head coaching job in Arizona. Basic grading system. Check mark means we like the guy, we can keep him, we think he can do what we're asking him in the schemes. Question mark would be, maybe his salary's too high. Maybe we need him to perform a little better. Maybe he can or cannot do what we're doing asking the schemes. And X would be something like Vin Curry, where it's like, you make too much money, or, now you're number 2 on the depth chart, and it's just not going to work out. So once the team gets together for these, voluntary mini camps and OTAs and even a little bit of training camp, how many players from your Cardinals squad moved from an X or a question mark to a check or vice versa? Okay. So basically it's like, what I was trying to find out is, are these grades in stone? Right. Or is there some movement, which they're always going to say there's some movement, but by asking him how many in Arizona, you can gauge if there really is. Right. And I mean, and that's good. That just gives you a glimpse into the internal workings of how he operates as a coach. Yeah. So. And then my other one was Todd Bowles, like, where are you going to play Devontae Bond? You're going to play him outside or inside. Right. Because, I mean, it's we've talked about it. It's a depth move. Right. He's cheap. And we need linebackers because none of them are healthy. Well, let's get to Todd Bowles. I mean, let's get to Todd Bowles because he had a few of the questions. Yeah. Fielded a few of the questions. And the big thing that I got from him, because there was a question about the 3-4, 4-3, whatever else they're going to play. And basically his answer was, and what I want to know from you before I say this. Sure. Was this just public coaches speak, or was this a real answer?
I have the personnel I need to run a good defense, and it'll be 3-4 or 4-3 depending on what we have. We will play both, Matthew.
Basically what he said is, yeah, we're going to play both, and it's going to kind of depend on whoever we're playing and what the situation calls for.
I think it was an honest answer because that's what I wrote down too. And what was asked, and it was one of the fan questions, obviously, because Casey's not going to try to pin him down on that, was, do you have the personnel to run a 3-4 defense? Is what the question was. And Todd Bowles, he sort of like squirmed in his chair and rubbed on his knees and rocked back and forth, and he goes, we have the personnel to have a really good defense.
Right.
And then he went into as well, we're going to play, if we're going to play both, I don't know if it's going to be a 4-3 or 3-4, which means to me, I think they do want to run a 3-4, but right now they don't have the guys. And instead of saying, hey, no, we don't have the guys, we're going to have to run a 3-4 or a 4-3, I mean, he said, we're going to have a really good defense, and whatever it ends up being, which is something they've said from the beginning. But along as, once Bruce Arians got hired, we figured Todd Bowles was here, the narrative among, beat writers, podcasters, everyone has been the 3-4 is coming.
Right.
Right. But now, Todd Bowles, which this is something that, not a lot of people are going to hear. He was extremely non-committal. And I don't think it was sort of, I don't want the rest of the NFL to hear this, so I'm going to answer both ways. It was... He was like, well, we're going to have a good defense. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like right now. So, I think they have a plan.
Which, by the way, for that, though,
sure,
that's really smart to not pigeonhole yourself and say, yeah, we're going to run it this way, and this is how we're going to do it.
But I think they'd like to.
Well, sure. But, I mean, even in a 3-4 defense, that's just your base defense. You bounce in and out of that through your entire thing. And that's the thing that when I talk to Bucs fans and I talk with our fellow fans, the vibe I get from most people is they're like, we're just going to be in a 3-4 defense the entire time. And that's not necessarily going to be the case.
No, not at all.
Unlike past years where we've mostly just been in a 4-3, occasionally you'd see like a 5-2-2 or something weird like that. But we were almost always in a 4-3.
Well, a 4-2.
Or 4-2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Almost for as long as we can remember.
Yeah. There's always been 4 defensive linemen.
Right.
With their hand in the dirt.
Right.
Whatever you want to call that.
Right.
That's what it's always been.
And I think this year, just based on what I have heard so far and what I'm reading, and I tend to take what people say at face value, but I understand there's the game that they play. We're probably going to see a little bit more of a mix-up, but it's not going to swing the pendulum all the way to the other side where it's just 3 down linemen and that's it.
I think they've got a plan. This is what I think. And, speculation. What a shocker. I think
you can't look into the future and tell us, Ren.
I think he wants to run a 3-4, but the way the draft breaks and the way the salary cap is, the Bucs have, and the free agents that are out there, you can't guarantee that.
Right.
You can't come out and say, yes, we're going to run a 3-4 because after free agency's over and the draft's over and training camp started, maybe pick up 1 or 2 guys. Okay, but when training camp starts, you have to have a plan.
Right.
And you might not be able to have the personnel to run a 3-4 right now. And that's kind of how I took it.
Right. So that was Todd Bowles. Before we jump off into another coach, do you have anything else on Todd Bowles you wanted to hit?
No.
All right. Let's just kind of go ahead and get that side of the stage out of the way. Todd Bowles is kind of in the middle. Go over to the special teams guy real quick.
Sure. Did we find out his name?
No, we have not. Actually,
Keith Armstrong.
Keith Armstrong, thank you.
The biggest thing, like for us, for example, would be we'd like to play penalty-free football. So we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be bold, but we're going to play penalty-free football. We're going to be consistent in that from a week-in and week-out basis. The next thing is we want to have a unit that can run and hit. So we're going to be a physical unit. So we're going to be an exciting unit to watch. Those are the things that jump out week in, week out. The other thing is we want to be able to score or set up a score. So whether we're blocking a kick, whether we have a big return, or if we're making a tackle inside the 20. So we want to play with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of juice, and be a group that can run and hit.
But he was promising this is going to be a physical unit. They're going to run and they're going to hit. And they're going to get down there. They're going to do it.
He was very big on saying that the special teams groups are going to be fast, aggressive, hard-hitting, and they're going to change the game.
Right.
Like they're going to flip the field, or they're going to block a punt, or they're going every game. And I've said this many times about Dirk Cutter, where I don't think he gave a crap about special teams.
Right.
Like the most, like, did you catch the ball? Okay, we have the ball, so my offense can go out there and get on the field. Like, that's all that he cared about, it seemed like to me.
Right.
Kicker, it's not my job. Jason, find somebody that can kick. Punter, find somebody that can punt. Like, I got to coach for that stuff. Like, where I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to try these mortar kicks and try to pin him down inside the 20. There it is. Try to pin down inside the 20. But I just, I want to kick to the end zone and just give him the 25 and just take out the chance of a return out altogether. And Armstrong talked about how, that could be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, it wasn't much, but it's special teams. So, but I do think that more emphasis is going to be put on the special teams this year as in something that actually help the team instead of just get out of the way of the team.
Yeah, and Bruce had said something when he was answering another question later on where he referenced back to the special teams of it sounds to me like they're going to try to have trick plays or special plays or here's the play we've been planning this week that we're going to try to go out and pull a fast one on the next team. And he said that's when
I didn't get that at all. You talking about special teams?
Yeah. Because he was talking about. It was the conversation if Bruce was going to be able to stay out of the headset, and what the headset conversation is like between the coaches.
Right.
And he had said, and when he looks over at Keith on special teams, let me know when the big play is coming, is what he'd said.
He must have spaced out.
Yeah. So it's the if you read between the lines, and I don't know if every coach does this, but it seems like this guy specifically, it's the first time I've ever heard it said from a coach, that they are going to try to do some stuff on special teams, not very opposite from Dirk Cutter.
Yeah,
they're going to try to make something happen and use special teams as a phase of football.
As a weapon.
Yeah, and not just...
Don't screw up.
Exactly.
Right. Did you make your field goal? Okay, don't screw up the rest of it.
Right. So that was Keith Armstrong. And then I want to get to Byron Leftwich in just a minute. He'll be the offensive coordinator. And play caller. But before we do that, let's go to Harold Goodwin. And we talked about him just a few minutes before. Mm-hmm. Was there anything from him specifically that jumped out to you before we get over to Byron?
I think I remember in his press conference, his introductory press conference, he talked about he talked a lot about the offensive line. If the offensive line doesn't do their job, that means it's it reflects bad on me. That means I've coached them poorly. Come yell at me.
The way I view coaching is this. The guy told me this in 1998. The players are a reflection of you. So if they don't play good, that means I'm not coaching good, and you guys are welcome to get on me. But I'll make sure we put the best product on the grass.
And he said that tonight.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. He is here to fix that offensive line, is what he's like. I don't care if you call him assistant head coach. I don't care if you call him run game coordinator. I don't care what you want to call him. This guy is here to fix the offensive line. That's what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. And it seems that he takes it extremely personally.
Yeah, he takes great pride in that.
Yes, yeah. And, he even said, he's like, well, the offensive line, it's the most important group on the field.
Well, me in general, I think the offensive line is the foundation of the team. Sorry, Todd. Sorry, Keith. But, without us, we can't run. Without us, we can't pass.
Yeah. He had that. And then the other note that I had from him was actually exactly what you just said. Said if the players aren't getting done, it's a reflection of me. And so if it's not working, yell at me. Is literally what he said. Yeah. So that's us.
And he loves to run the ball.
Yeah.
He does. He loves to run the ball. I told a story about how Bruce B.A. I don't like calling him B.A. He's not a good enough friend of mine, but everyone else does. Anyway, B.A. was letting him call plays during the preseason, and at halftime they had over 100 yards rushing and 250 yards total offense, and BA's yelling, I'm like, you got to take deep shots, and he said, they had this knockdown, drag out fight, about how to call plays, and he's like, BA won because he always does, but it just sort of looks into his mindset where here's your chance to call plays, right? And I'm going to get 100 yards rushing in the first half. Now he never said how many points they scored, because if you're losing 6-3, right, you would definitely be on BA's side and be like, hey. need to take some shots. And no, I don't. Look at my yardage. Yeah, you don't get points for yardage.
Right.
But if they were winning like 21-7, 21-10, then you could sort of see Goodwin's argument.
So that was Goodwin, not Godwin, as my phone keeps now trying to correct me, where I think I've written Godwin so many times, my phone is trying to kick it back. So that was him. I think one thing that you can tell between Goodwin and Bowles and Armstrong, these three guys specifically, they have been with Coach Bruce a long time.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of camaraderie there. Like,
Yeah.
they really do feel like a cohesive unit. Like this group, which I never got to be in an event like this with Cutter and his staff.
Right.
But I never got the feeling that Cutter's staff was this cohesive unit.
Right.
So, so they had that. And then we go to Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator, play caller, quarterback. You'll be working with quarterback somehow.
No, they got Todd Christensen as a quarterback's coach.
Okay.
But he'll be in the room.
He'll be in the room. They went to him. He's, as opposed to the other three, he struck me as very much as a Bruce Arians disciple. Like, the language he was using and kind of the way he was talking was very reflective of the same words that Bruce Arians uses a lot.
Yeah, he's still trying to find his way. This is his first big-time NFL job, if you say you have three. Yeah, no offense to Keith Armstrong, but, there's not a lot of special teams coaches that you know around the league. It's head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich is offensive coordinator. So he hasn't.
You don't go from special teams coordinator to head coach.
You can, but
it doesn't happen though.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
Right.
Yeah. It's what we call in the business rare.
Right.
So
the biz.
So you can tell Byron Leftwich was giving a lot of just coaches speak answers. Try to put the guys in the best position to win. Just like, and it wasn't he wasn't struggling with it. It's just that you can tell that he hasn't had the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of interviews that these other guys have had. And yes, you're right. His answers sounded like you could just put Bruce Arians in his spot.
Right.
And sort of change the cadence and the amount of cuss words that come out of the mouth, and it's the message is exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question that I wrote down two questions, one for Bruce,
all right,
and one for Byron.
I have one for Byron.
Did you?
Yeah. I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay.
You go ahead.
Well, my one for Byron was, you remember when he was first hired, they went and asked Jameis what it was going to be like, or how they thought the fact that Byron Leftwich had been a quarterback in the league, how that was going to help. And he was like, oh, of course it's going to help me because he knows what it's like to be there and blah, blah, blah. I wanted to get Byron, like, his side of it now being a coach.
Right.
Like, how, with him knowing what he knows now that he didn't know when he was a quarterback, how is that experience going to help him with Jameis specifically? Right. I was just curious, would it be the exact same thing that Jameis said, or did he have a different perspective now having been around the circle for that?
My question was, how short is your leash?
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Because, this is sort of the question, right?
Right.
This is the big elephant in the room with Byron Leftwich. It's like, okay, yeah. Okay, let's break this down. Okay, you played quarterback,
right?
Stuck around the league a long time. I would say it's fair to say you never panned out, right, as where you were drafted. Not that you were a bust or a colossal disappointment. You bounced around a couple teams.
How many years did he play? Do you know?
I don't know.
Was it close to 10, or was it like 4?
No, it was closer to 10.
Okay,
closer to 10 for sure. And you hear the stories of Bruce Arians talking about, like, almost had to pull him kicking and screaming off the golf course to come coach.
Right.
So it's not your passion. It's like, hey, I'm giving you a job. Would you like it? Nah, I'm good. I'm playing golf. Like,
right.
It took 2 years to get him here.
Right.
Now he gets him to Arizona. Maybe he finds his passion, finds that he likes it.
Sure.
Looks at his bank account and goes, hey, I should probably
keep doing this.
Yeah, keep doing this.
I'm good at it. It's fine. Let's go.
Let's keep doing this.
Right. But one of the things Bruce Arians says about Byron Leftwich,
right,
in talking about that, is he says he's one of the best teachers he's ever met. And when we get to talking about Bruce, that is a word that came up again and again and again and again tonight was about teaching.
I have that written down 4 times.
We're the most glorified school teachers and the highest paid school teachers in the world. You can know all the football, but if you can't teach it, what good is it? So you have to be a great communicator, a great teacher. Every student learns different. So if I was a running back coach and I had 5 guys, they don't learn alike. The young people today learn differently than they did 10 years ago. We need to be more active. They can't sit in a classroom. They get bored quickly. So it's just being able to teach every single player on your team.
But one of the things that Byron Leftwich said, talking about this whole...
Can I finish my story?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, finish your story.
Thank you very much. So now we got Byron Leftwich in there for whatever reasons, and last year the Cardinals fired their offensive coordinator. Okay, so Byron Leftwich has roughly, I don't really know for sure, about 8 games as an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Okay? Now, Bruce Arians has been a play caller for decades in the NFL. And this year, he said it tonight, Byron's a play caller.
Right.
Then, I don't know if Casey asked him or was one of the fan questions was, no, it was Casey, because they were talking about, going back and forth on the walkie-talkie or the headset going, hey, do you have to tell Todd Bowles to send everybody? Do you ever, get in on that? Or how much you're going to talk? And so Casey asked Byron Leftwich, is so basically, are you going to be able to call plays without Bruce getting in your butt?
Right.
And he goes, yeah, we'll see.
Byron, what do you think? What are the odds that he stays out of the headset?
We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, that's the question. It's do we really want to give our offense over to a guy who's called about 8 plays?
Right.
That had to be dragged off the golf course kicking and screaming 2-3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And now is calling our plays. So
how long is that leash?
Exactly.
To go back to your question. Yeah. No, it's a great question.
So I think what we're looking at is dual offensive coordinators.
Yeah. And
we'll see how far this trust goes with Bruce Arians.
Yeah. Because Bruce Arians, even in responding to that same question about, is he going to be able to stay out of the headset? And Bruce didn't know.
Well, it's going to be really different for me because in the past, I've called the plays. And Byron's going to do it, so it's going to be real hard for me to shut up. Right? Because you have 25 seconds to talk to the quarterback, get all the information in, get out of that huddle, and I can't be giving information. So hopefully in preseason I learn to shut up.
He's I don't know, because he's always done it. He's always yelling at those guys. And he said that's going to be one of the hardest things for him to do this year, is to not be in the headset and over talk these guys, because they also pointed out you got 25 seconds.
Yeah.
To get into play, relay all the information. He can't be sitting there chattering with them while they're trying to get the play into.
He can't be talking to Byron while Byron's trying to get the play in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and he said, "We'll see." That's what. And Bruce Arians said the same thing too. He's like, "Well, hopefully I'll learn it in the preseason."
Right.
Keep my mouth shut. We'll see.
Right. So
lots of we'll sees going on with the play caller.
Right.
Very interesting.
Did you have anything else on Byron? Because I'm anxious to get to Bruce.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm good on Byron.
All right. So watch this subtle transition.
Okay.
So Byron Leftwich, talking about Bruce Arians, says that Bruce Arians is the smartest football mind he's ever been around, that he has the right temperament to be a coach. He's not a scream and yell kind of a coach. It's the way that he teaches that allows a football player to be their best.
How did you transcribe that?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there a question in there then?
Just in talking about our new head coach, Bruce Arians gets hired. Everybody's all ecstatic.
Right.
He's going to be great. He's going to be great. He's going to be great. This, I think, is kind of piling on that a little bit. I think that's very high praise. And I didn't get the feel that this was just him brown-nosing or sucking up to his boss. You don't think so?
Well, I'm not going to say that's all it was, or mostly was.
Right.
But I felt there was some of that in there. It's more of the, and it goes back to sort of what you said when it seems like when Byron Leftwich talks,
right,
he just seems to be aping what Bruce Arians has already told us.
Right.
So
he's a true Bruce Arians disciple.
Yeah, and I'm not calling him immature, but it's his immaturity with having these types of interviews and in front of a bunch of fans to, sort of set. You don't want to say the wrong thing, and he's only been coaching less than you have more fingers on one of your hand than many years he's been coaching.
But to back up his point, though, you and I were talking as we were walking into the facility tonight. Coach Arians, and I'm looking at the card right here that they have. He has a really, really close to a 600 winning percentage.
Yep.
And you said that he's like one of the top 3 or 4 winningest coaches.
I heard he's, as far as active coaches, he's 3rd in winning percentage as a head coach.
That should make Bucs fans, should give them the good tingles.
Yeah. When he calls plays.
Yeah.
He's not calling plays.
Yet.
We're gonna go. You have to wait till you're 1-3 before he starts calling plays. I don't know. This is obviously it's a sticking issue for me, and I'm not upset about it. I don't think it's dumb or right or wrong. It's something I'm keeping a very close eye on.
Mm-hmm. Their promo card here says, just speaking of for Bruce Arians, it's .598. It's 600 winning percentage. He has 15 of 25 seasons with a playoff appearance. And then talking about the entire coaching staff combined, they have 220 years of coaching in the NFL, 91 playoff seasons, 10 Super Bowl wins, and really close to Bruce's number on winning percentage, 539.
I think, the Super Bowl wins actually includes players as well. Just in case anybody wants to add us later.
Fair enough. Right. Anyone wants to fact check that? You got to
blame
count their
the Buccaneers.
Right, they put that out. It's their official thing. All right, so BA, Bruce Arians.
Yep.
He had a lot to say. He was certainly not quiet.
No.
Although he did give his guys a lot of leeway to talk. But he was not quiet. He had a lot of things to say. Again, the thing that I think really jumped out to me was the word teacher.
Yes.
He talked about it. You said you had it written down 4 times. I've got it written down probably just as many times as well. What jumped out to you outside of the word teacher, but just overall from Bruce Arians?
Well, we've all, a lot of things we've heard before. I don't have the magic speech. The players are the ones that are going to decide to be good. And we didn't hear no risk it, no biscuit, but we did hear of don't tell stories about me. They're all going to be X-rated, not R-rated. X-rated. X-rated. And he said it more than once. I'm like, geez, calm down, Bruce.
And then Todd Bowles said, I can't tell you the other conversations I had because they're all X-rated.
They're all X-rated, exactly. So here's the one thing that stuck with me. And as soon as he said it, it made me think back to Dirk Cutter's coaching staff and the previous Lovie Smith coaching staff before them and Bruce Arians talks in lots of absolutes, so I'm sort of going to paraphrase this, but he said, the worst thing is having to coach your coaches.
Yeah.
The worst thing for a head coach to have to do is coach coaches. I mean, coach players, fine. Coaching coaches is really hard. When you're putting in systems, we had 18 guys walk in our office, know the offense, know the defense, and know their special teams. So it was a very easy transition.
And I was he said that, and I went, oh yeah, I bet that does stink. And now you've talked about how long he's known these guys.
Right.
They know exactly what to expect from each other. They know what Bruce wants. He's very much. It almost feels like he's in charge, but lots of hands off. He's gotten to the point in his coaching career where he's got guys that he trusts and he knows, and he goes, you know what I want on defense, go do it. You need something, come to me. I'll go to Jason, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
You know
what that's called? Not to get into a big diatribe about it.
Oh, here we go.
I don't care what people want to call it. That is definitionally leadership. All right, moving on.
In case you're not a long-time PeterCast listener, Brent is a student of leadership. And if you mention the word leadership or culture anywhere around him, be prepared to be bored to death. No, just kidding. No. But he does have a lot to say on the subject because he studied it.
A lot.
And
still do, actually, in many cases. And speaking of culture, Bruce Arians answered a question, and we've heard this lots before. If you haven't heard this about Bruce Arians, you need to, because you're going to continue to hear it. Because there's one thing about Bruce Arians I've noticed over the last 2 months that he's been the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He sends the same message all the time, every time.
Yeah, he does.
It is the same. In fact, I said on our last pod, he's kind of starting to piss me off because he's not giving us new stuff. It's the same thing no matter where he goes, what interview he gives.
Yeah, you got to wait till he gets some games played.
But he said this. He said they have two philosophies. This is, some people may call it culture. Some people may call it whatever. It's all the same thing.
Maxim.
He says this. Yeah. He says this. They have two things. It's the only two things that they talk about. The first one is this. One team, one cause. This will be the thing that they put up on, you remember when we did the tour of the One Buck facility and they talked about all the sayings they put up on the walls?
Yes.
And like each coach gets to do their own?
Yeah.
Well, they're painting over Dirk Cutter's old weird sayings.
Weird.
And this is what they're putting up. They're putting up two things. One team, one cause. It's a unity. The other thing they put up, trust, loyalty, and respect.
That's it. Follow those rules. Nothing will go wrong.
That's right. He said they're not even rules. If you just do this, you don't have to have rules.
Because they're rules. Just follow this rule. Right. We won't have to have rules.
Right. Just do this. So, that's what he's going to look to instill and bring in. And the consistency that he continues to preach this message everywhere he goes, one, just tells me he's serious about it. There's no two. Actually, that's it. He's really serious about it.
The one and only.
Right. This is what he's going to get in. Now, talking about the teachers, one of the things that I noted he said is he said they've got to teach players so that when they get out there playing, they don't have to think.
Right.
They can just respond and react. He said because if players are out there having to think about what they're trying to do, then you haven't done your job as a coach.
Yeah.
I found that real interesting.
I did not.
Fair enough. Do you have any? Because there's a couple of news bits that we'll get to here in just a second. But before we do that, anything else from Bruce Arians or anything he said that stuck out to you?
There was two things I did not like.
Okay.
One was Todd Bowles saying the word communication.
Well, the biggest thing is you find out what they can do, and you try to let them do what their skill set allows them to do. We want to be smart. Obviously, we want to be tough and disciplined. I think we can do that. But they got to communicate with each other. If they communicate with each other and play fast, I think we'll play well.
Yeah. You leaned around the corner and looked at me and went, what the?
He's talking about communication. Oh, my God. I'm like, oh, Lord. But, obviously it's a huge factor.
Right.
Okay? The second thing I didn't like when Bruce Arians was talking about our defense, he said it's going to be more complex. And then he caught himself and goes, if our players can handle it.
Defensively, we're going to be a lot more complex as long as our guys can handle it than we've been in the past. And
that was the problem with Mike Smith, wasn't it? That our players couldn't handle the complex.
Well, from Mike
complexity?
Smith, right? What I understand with Mike Smith, though, is he would practice some stuff, then they wouldn't talk about it for 3, 4, 5 weeks. They'd get into a game situation, and whatever they talked about that week would either run out or just wasn't working.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he'd call back to 4 or 5 weeks ago when they hadn't even talked about it since.
Okay.
And everybody's trying to remember what that is.
That's fine. What did Mike Smith say when he first got here? It takes like 5 weeks for the players to sort of get it.
Right. And turns out it took like 8.
No, well, sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, there was those nice 5 games.
Right, and then they didn't get it for the next 20 games.
Right, so then they come back and he's like, well, last year we were, addition and subtraction, now we're into trigonometry. Okay.
Right.
And then a bye week happens and he's basically coaching for his job. What happens? We're simplifying. Mm-hmm. Okay, he gets fired. What does Duffner come in and do? He simplifies.
Right.
And they start playing better.
Right.
So this communication, complex defense.
Yeah.
I don't like. Look, maybe they're better teachers. I hope they are.
Yeah.
And better coaches.
Right.
And be able to get this through, or the way they do it, people understand. However, they seem to be very aware that not everyone learns the same.
Right.
And
when they don't learn the same today as they did 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So, it's another one of those things I'm just going to be watching, because as a Bucs fan, that is like the last thing I really wanted to hear was complex defense and communication.
Right. You didn't want to hear something that the last coaching staff or two also talked about.
Yeah, this is like our whole season's hanging on these two things as a defensive squad. The two things they couldn't do for the past 2 years.
Right. So what we're really learning about this is we need to keep you and Todd Bowles out of bowling alleys at the same time.
Sure. Or Chris Conti.
All right, Ren.
And I don't think that I'm alone out there when Buck fans hear this, that those two words were used a lot when discussing the defense.
You know,
that sort of sends up a red flag.
Yeah, and rightly so, I think, for Bucs fans. You know, I really do. So I do think that this coach comes in with the moxie that we can be optimistic about where it's going. But I also think it's fair to have that as a red flag to keep an eye on as the season goes forward. Like, okay, you just use that word. We're going to let you do it, but I'm watching you.
Yeah.
I got my eye on you, Bowles.
Exactly. And you're right. I think that's you said it perfectly with track record.
Yeah.
You know, and most of this coaching staff, besides Byron Leftwich, they have this track record.
Sure.
Where they've proven they know what they're doing, stop after stop after stop in the NFL. So that's very exciting, and just because, I mean, it's just football.
Right.
So some of philosophies are going to cross.
Mm-hmm.
Does she know how I feel about the word communication?
Right. Well, and it's not that the former coaching staff didn't know football.
Right.
Or was horrible. They could never cohesively put it together.
Yeah, maybe they weren't good teachers.
And that's actually exactly the thought that I had. Yeah. Because I still think that Cutter's biggest downfall was he expected these 20-something-year-old guys to come in and know what they were supposed to do, go out there and do it, and if they didn't do it, he wasn't running up and down and screaming. He just, okay, we'll just do it next time. Yeah. Practice more. Just get better at it. Like,
you better do it or you're not going to have a job.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really think that's how
you're not going to have a job.
Right. Well, let's get back to Bruce Arians here.
Yep.
I don't have anything else outside of 2 bits of news that he kind of dropped for us.
Sure.
The first one was a new coaching hire.
Okay.
That I thought was pretty interesting.
We're doing something different, and I just hired Larry Rose, who's a retired official. And he is going to be our liaison with New York and the officials because the rules change every week, as we all know. And so the interpretations of the rules and all those things, we're going to have an ex-official be in charge of that. He'll be in my ear for instant replay during games, or if I like to holler at referees. He says, "You're right." I can holler louder. If he says, "No, coach, that's wrong," I'll still holler, but I won't be as loud.
He's an official, and he's going to be able to tell Bruce Arians on plays that he might want to challenge and replay.
Right.
He's going to be Bruce Arians' ear and telling him this is how officials are looking at it.
Right.
Yes, challenge it. Don't challenge it.
Right.
Yeah. And also, he talked about how, he jokes like, the NFL rules change like every week, blah, 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 blah. So This is a person who has been an official, a retired official, that when his sole job is to keep an eye on the NFL, these rule changes, how games are being called, how certain referee crews are calling games, and basically take that information, put it into a report, or have it all set, and he sits down once a week with Bruce Arians, they have a meeting, and he tells him what he knows.
Right.
It's just taking something off his plate.
Right. And then I think the other role that he might have, and at least this was what I picked up, you tell me if you had the same deal, was even if he's not going to challenge the play, like sometimes the ref just makes a bad call. Coach either can't challenge it or just, I'm not going to challenge this one, but I'm still going to yell at the referee because it was a bad call or a bad no call or whatever. And he can kind of like say, yeah, go bark at him because you're right. Or, no, Bruce, actually, that's the right thing. And Bruce's like, I'm still going to yell at him, just not as much.
Yeah, I thought that was more of a throwaway than anything else.
Yeah. All right, last bit of news that I have, and then we'll get out of here with this event tonight. The question was asked when they went back and did film review, and they had a chance to actually study all of these players.
Right.
Coach Arians said that they went back and they looked at every game, every practice, all the way through training camp. That's a lot of film for this coaching staff to go review over the last month. Right. And the question was, who impressed you out of that? And he said, there's a couple guys, but there was one name that popped to the top.
Yeah, when we first got in, we had every coach evaluate every player, every practice, all the way back to training camp, and watch those guys in drills to see Maybe he fits our system better than he did in the other system. But probably the guy that I was most shocked was Peyton Barber. After watching him, we have a running back, and we have a big, strong, fast running back. And to echo what Harold was saying, everything in our offense starts with the running game. You know, we're known for throwing it down the field, but you can't throw it down the field if you're not running the ball. And he is really impressive. And hopefully Rojo can get a chance. He didn't get many chances last year when you're looking at the film. But obviously the receiver room, the tight end room, the quarterback, they're outstanding. I've never walked into a situation with this much skill. But Peyton was the guy that I really didn't know that much about.
He was really emphatic about this.
I don't think it's a smokescreen to do like draft or no. I think he really means this and is very excited about this
Peyton Barber.
Peyton Barber.
That's right. He said Peyton Barber. He said he looked at him and he went, "Woo, we got a running back."
Exactly.
He is on this guy.
Yeah. He was very happy, and that's what he said. Like, we have a running back.
This is not the, Jason Light and the coaching staff are really high on Peyton Barber. This isn't that. I mean,
he can do some good things. We got to put him in the right situation.
Right. We're pretty high on him. We like him a lot.
He's shifty. He's got power, and he's also fast. Like runs for speed. Like he was. He's. You've sort of heard the mumblings about how Bruce Arians really likes Peyton Barber, or he's always talking about Peyton Barber without being asked. Now this is our first time being with Bruce Arians through an off season, and it could be a total smokescreen. This is where how charismatic he is, or how funny he is to listen to, and all those type of things. How people love him because I believe him.
Yeah.
If it turns out to be,
for the record, you don't think it's a smokescreen.
I do not.
It could be, but you don't think it is, and I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that's why I'm throwing this in here. But it could be because we just don't know his personality yet.
Sure.
But he's kind of, I'm a straight shooter, and no one really disputes that.
Right.
So I'm
and the word he used was shocked.
Yeah.
He was shocked at Peyton Barber.
At Peyton Barber's tape.
Yeah. And, for all of the Bucs fans that are out there have said, Peyton Barber's not our guy. He's not the guy. I've seen that.
Running back,
he's good, but he's not the guy. Yeah. We need a top running back, a top flight, Le'Veon Bell, that kind of guy running back who's going to take this running game to the next level. From the sounds of it, he thinks Peyton Barber is that guy.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, if you really pick it apart,
right,
and not have to ask Bruce Arians these questions because he's not going to answer them,
right,
is basically Bruce Arians is saying it's the offensive line's fault that Peyton Barber doesn't have 1,200 yards.
Right,
is basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, Peyton Barber, I think the most he's ever rushed for was like 850, and that was this year. I mean, that's not even really close to 1,000.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. So, right now, as we record this today, my unprofessional opinion is that Bruce Arians for this next season is going to be ride or dying with Peyton Barber.
I agree. And so much so that...
So quit taking running backs in your mock.
Right.
And wide receivers.
Right.
Everyone.
Right. And I'm it's got me excited to see what Peyton Barber is going to do. Like, if they're this excited, I'm excited to see what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And the only place we're going to see it really is on Sundays.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're this excited about it, if it's genuine, which we believe it is, it's it's kind of funny and almost ludicrous to say like David Johnson type numbers.
Yeah.
2-3 years ago.
Right.
When he was a number one fantasy draft pick for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. It is ludicrous. Right. But I'm still excited to see it.
Right.
I'm still excited to see it.
Right. All right, Ren. Well, that I think that's really it from the. It was a fan event. They had some food trucks. They had some fun out there for the family and the kids.
It was top notch as it always is.
It really was.
Yeah,
it really was.
Is.
And then
there was cornhole out there, big chess, big checkers. They
had people kicking field goals inside, trying out for the team.
Yeah, free food, free drinks.
Yep.
Free non-alcoholic drinks.
So that was. I mean, that was really the event, man. I guess we'll go ahead and get out. Anything else? Any final thoughts about the event, the Coaches Crew fan event tonight at the Buccaneers?
I'm sort of pessimistic by nature.
Right.
But
shocker to everybody who's been listening.
yes, I know, right? You're full of crap. But I feel coming out of this, like I didn't know, BA from, a hole in the ground. But coming out of this, I'm more excited than when I went into it, for sure.
Sure.
And now this was the first time where fans were allowed to be in the same room with him and his coaching staff, and it was for me, it was really more about sort of seeing the interaction. How free and loose and trusting they were with each other.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go back to one of our very first comments about this. They really do come off as a cohesive unit as a coaching staff,
and really good friends.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, it's. I think
Cutter had a lot of really good friends.
Yeah. All right, friends. On that note,
and we bring it back down. Get excited! Oh,
get excited! They're friends, but
this
not
is the exact same situation we had last year. Good luck.
All right, that's going to do it for us, Fred.
Yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and get.
You're allowed to be excited.
Yes. I want to say thank you to people who stopped by to say hi to us. There was about 8 of them over the course of the night here. Thank you to the people here at the Wing House, just south of the stadium, here at Columbia and Dale Mabry and Himes, kind of right there in that area. We'll get out of here, Ren. Tell the folks out there where they find you on the internet.
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendaxt, REN_DAXT, because Facebook is not dead. It's just where dumb people go to put their Bucs takes.
If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live on Twitter and on Instagram, and you can find the show at facebook.com/thepewtercast, on Twitter at thepewtercast, or shoot us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Stay tuned. We do have our Showtime with the Apollo show coming up. This week we're facing the Birmingham Iron, if you're listening to this before the weekend. And we will continue that through the season here with the Apollos, but we're also covering all the Buccaneers stuff. So, guys, until next time, we'll close the show out. As always, go Bucs.